have one more, and I shall have my 4 set.
Look at what time it is. Look at what time it is.
Let's get it.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Oh, you don't want to do military? You want to do this one? You're a fucking glutton for punishment. We're going to end it on a bang tonight, huh?
Oh, hell yeah.
Welcome back, everyone. I am Zadian. Welcome to part 2 of the Azure Templars take on Naxxramas 10-man. In today's episode, we're going to be finishing up the rest of Naxx, which is only 3 wings left, and with starting out, we're going to be moving on to the Construct wing. In the Construct quarter, there are 4 bosses. This is also considered to be one of the most difficult wings to complete in Naxx. The 4 bosses you'll be coming up against are Patchworks, Grobulus, Gluth, and Thaddeus. Again, I'm a redneck. I don't know how to read. Every single boss of this quarter is a challenge. It can push your raid to its limits and show you where you need to improve and what needs to be done to continue on. I have seen many raids come in here and fail, and this is the failure point of most raids. However, our tank spirits are feeling high, and he decided to go to Construct instead of military, so here we go. We're going to take our way down and meet our first boss. Patchwork. Patchworks is a very, shitty boss. I don't like Patchworks. I don't like this fight. I don't like the mechanics to this fight. I don't like anything about it. It is super healing intensive. It involves a lot of communication through your healers and your tanks, and requires all melee DPS to stay in constant damage to prevent themselves from being attacked by Patchwork. Patchwork's main attack is Hateful Strike. What he's going to do is he's going to pick the highest 3 threats in melee range and target them with Hateful Strike. He will apply Hateful Strike to the person who has the highest HP and is in melee range. In order to avoid this, what we do is we have our melee dip into the green stuff, which takes their HP down to halfway, and our 2 tanks remain with full HP, and we heal them through the entire fight. Like I said, it's a very challenging fight. It's hard. It's definitely a check for any raid group coming in here. If you can get past Patchworks, you're pretty clear to go through the rest of the raid without any issue whatsoever. I would say, in my opinion, he is definitely the most difficult boss in this raid. So here we are. We're at Fatty. Sit back, relax, enjoy the fight.
Goddamn pug. Hey, I wasn't even doing anything. I was just looking at.
Apparently you did it wrong.
Rude.
Alright, I'm jumping off. You fellas have a wonderful time in Naxx. Enjoy yourself. Good luck carrying the heavy load. Don't hurt your back.
Are you saying I'm fat again?
Right, here we go.
Bye.
Sarah, whatever you fucking did from last week, it's night and day healing you. With Big Fatty down, we now move on to our next boss. The most dangerous, or actually second most dangerous boss in this entire raid, Frogger.
Why did the frog cross the road? he didn't.
Yeah, that's right. We had people die to Frogger. Frogger really isn't as big as he used to be, but it still catches some people off guard, and it is funny to watch him die. After our team learns how to play a 1970 game that kids mastered years and years ago, and everyone gets through Frogger, we move on to our next real boss, Grobulus. Grobulus is a fairly simple boss. He's really only got a couple of mechanics you need to watch out for. The main thing is that your entire raid group needs to stand behind him so that he doesn't cover them in ooze and cause slimes to spawn. If you have people in front of him and he does cause slimes to spawn that are not just a tank, if for say there's 2 DPS in front and it ends up spawning about 3 slimes, it could end up wiping a raid fairly easy. Although that's not too bad to deal with, but still, you get the point. You don't want to be in front of him the entire raid. You always want to be behind him the entire time. The next thing he'll do is he'll put a dot on someone, which in so many seconds it'll count down. It'll put a poison circle on the floor and give them damage. This can be debuffed. However, you don't want it debuffed inside the raid. If you debuff it while you're inside the raid group, everyone will take AoE damage. The thing we usually do is we find a patch of open area or somewhere behind where the boss is already gone, and we'll just let the tick count down naturally and we'll heal through it. Sometimes people do accidentally pop it in the raid. They'll see that debuff and they're like, oh god, I gotta take care of that, but you really don't have to. All you have to know is that when you do get the dot on you is to get out of the raid, find a corner, sit in it until it pops. Just stay in range of your healers and you'll be fine. Other than that, the tank will kite around in a circle, DPS will stay behind him, DPS him down and kill the boss. Like I said, not too difficult, but if you don't pay attention to the mechanics, it can get out of hand very quickly. All right, I'll shut my mouth, I'll put it on 200 times speed again, and enjoy the fight with Grobulus.
Is this the one that can be crafted by blacksmithers?
Blade of Dormant Memories?
Well, look at my atlas loot. Hang on.
I don't believe so.
I'll check. I'll check for myself.
Easy money.
I put it in the wrong place. That's why that one's there. I thought it had dropped off me, but no.
Let's get Gargan up real quick.
It's a nice mace.
I got him. Peppa.
I was trying to save you 30 seconds for the loot.
Alright, guys, I gotta go pick up the little guy. I will talk to you later.
See you, bud.
Alright, man.
Later.
With our team showing the great manners that it has and dropping our farts outside the raid so no one else has to smell them, we end up taking Grobulus out very easily. The next boss we're going to move on to is Gluth. Gluth is a little bit tricky, kind of, only in the sense that you all have to run in there at the same time, no one can fall, and you have to really stick together to start this fight. Basically what you do after you kill Grobulus, you have to go up this ramp and cross this pipe that drops down into Gluth's fighting arena together. If you don't, then, well, bad things can happen. Also, the pipe you go through to get into the arena is poisoned, so if you stay in there for too long, your raid will take damage. So you really have to get your things together outside the boss room before you go and jump in. If you jump in prematurely or someone falls or what have you, it could end up being a wipe fairly easily, or you're down a person. The two tanks will jump in first and they'll take the boss all the way to the back wall and tank him there. They have to switch back and forth because there's stacks that he applies to them, and they can only have so many stacks on them at one time. The rest of the raid group will be behind the boss, attacking him, and while that's going on, a hunter or a mage, or a hunter and a mage, or a third tank will have to take the skeletons that are constantly spawning behind the raid group. Eventually, Gluth is going to do an attack that brings everyone down to 5% of their health. When he does that, that'll also apply to the skeletons. All the skeletons that have spawned the entire time you've been fighting will now run towards Gluth. If Gluth eats him, he's going to get a buff and regain health. So everyone in the raid has to focus down the skeletons before they reach him. Also, the healers have to take someone who has gone from full health to 5% back up to full health. When your health goes down like that, the boss does stop attacking, so it's not like you have to worry about the tanks dying immediately, but you do have to get your raid back up quickly because he will start attacking again. There's just kind of this little window you can get your tanks back up and then you get the rest of the raid back up. Rinse and repeat what just happened, and that's really the fight. As long as you can coordinate with the tanks, healers, and the guys who are kiting the skeletons in the back of the room, it's a fairly straightforward fight. That being said, we do wipe on this one, but we were also short a person at the time. It really comes down to the people who are kiting the skeletons in the back of the room. When you're kiting the skeletons in the back of the room, you have to stay far enough back so when he does the AoE move, it brings everyone down to 5% and starts the skeletons moving towards him. They're not right on top of the boss, and he just jumps them up. That being said, you have to be mindful of your own health, use traps, use slows, use all this other crap to stay alive because the skeletons will hit you and they'll kill you. It's not an easy job for a hunter. It's not an easy job for a mage. The best I've seen it done is with a tank, actually having a third tank in this fight. That's the easiest way to do it. But if you do have a hunter who has a lot of mobility and is able to escape this stuff, it's really not that bad. Anyway, I'll shut up. Here's the fight. Get you some nom noms. Nom 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 nom. It's over.
Isn't that so much easier?
Yeah, that's so much easier with 3 tanks. After putting a heavy dose of antifreeze in Gluth's water bowl and taking him down, we move on to our last and final boss of this wing, Thaddeus. Thaddeus, also known as the battery boss, also known as the don't miss the jump or your raid will make fun of you boss. The first part of the Thaddeus fight is you have to come into the room and split up into 2 groups. You want your range or your spellcasters to go to the left, your melee to go to the right. Of course, each one has to have a tank and each one has to have a healer. The reason you do this is because the one on the right, he's going to sap mana, which is why you want all your melee there. And the one on the left is going to, I think he does less, melee does less damage to him. Either way, you have to take these down simultaneously. This requires constant communication between the raid groups as you have to call out health percentages almost the entire fight. You have to take them down at the same exact time or else one of them will regain health and you have to basically just start all over. Once these 2 stooges are dead, it is time to jump to the main platform where Thaddeus is. In the beginning, he will not have a charge, so the entire raid group will pretty much stand in front of him. Once he gives out a charge, whether it's positive or negative, negative on the left, positive on the right, you will go to your assigned area once you have your charge. From there on, you just have to maintain which side you stand on while you're attacking him. Again, negative on the left, positive on the right. As long as you follow the simple rules of staying on the charged side that you're supposed to be, everyone will live. Again, since this is a mechanic heavy fight and we do have a fairly green group with us, we did wipe on this one, I believe, twice. However, after persevering, we did push through it. It's all about learning which side you need to stand on during this fight to stay safe. Once you have that mechanic figured out, this boss is very, very simple. Add-ons I would recommend for this one are DBM for sure. Also GTFO. GTFO is a simple mod that'll tell you to get the fuck out of the way and move if you're standing against something. It also alerts you if you're standing on the wrong side. That being said, I'm going to shut my mouth and let you guys enjoy the fight. Oh, why is it so late on that?
Maybe it needs an update.
We got it before the next polarity.
There we go.
It didn't tell me my polarity shift on that last one until he's shocked. It almost killed me. What are you doing? What are you opening? Are you opening Pokemon cards?
No, I'm wrapping presents. I bought a bunch of shit and I just haven't opened it to check it. So I'm like going through all this shit about my wife and I'm like, oh fuck, I forgot about that. That's cool.
Yeah, so me and my wife have ordered so much shit, like I don't really know what's what anymore and I'm scared to open things. So I'm thinking like we're just going to end up wrapping all the boxes and just like randomly handing them out to people.
There you go.
With Thaddeus put back on the charger so he'll be ready for Christmas and the dawn of the second day, we move on to our last and final quarter of Naxxramas, the military quarter. Inside the military quarter are three bosses: Instructor Vesuvius, Gothic the Harvester, and the Four Horsemen. Instructor Vesuvius is going to be our first one up. He's a very straightforward fight in 10-man. All you have to do is have your tanks take control of the two crystals, which will mind control his two students, and you take the two students that you're mind controlling and you actually tank the boss. While the 2 tanks are tanking the boss off and on and switching back and forth between students and refreshing the spell every once in a while, the DPS will wear down the boss. Healers have to pay attention to the student's health along with the raid's health, because if the students die before Vesuvius is dead, it can turn into a real shit show. Vesuvius hits really hard and can wipe a group very easily. It's important that the 2 students stay alive long enough for you to kill Vesuvius, which means your healers may have to pop a couple of heals off on them. That's pretty much it for the fight. So here we go. Sit back, relax, and enjoy it.
You're so glad I am.
I got you, Laura. I got you.
No, my screen went red, and I was like, okay, I've taken aggro. I better do something about that.
As you can see, towards the end of that fight, we lost both the students and our tank died because we didn't have the students tanking Vesuvius. That's why it's important to keep the students up the entire time. Like I said, had it not been the end of the fight there, we would have wiped. But as always, our group persevered and put Vesuvius in the damn ground. Next up is probably one of the dumbest bosses in all of WoW history. I hate this fight. It's so stupid. It's so dumb. Gothic the Harvester. With Gothic the Harvester, what you're supposed to do is split up into 2 groups, one on each side of the room. But that makes the fight so boring and so easy. What people do is they pile up in the first room, and at the midpoint when the gates open, they just AoE everything down. Again, it's one of the only ways to make this fight exciting. This is a boring fight. He literally sits up there on his balcony, summons things to attack you, which are not very hard, kill them, and you wait for him to come down. As soon as he does come down, you just beat the shit out of him. He's one of the easiest bosses in here. He's a pushover. It's a shit fight. I hate this fucking fight. I really do. It ruins this place. But here we go. Here it is. Enjoy. So with Garlic the Harvester down, again, one of the worst fights in this game, we move on to one of the best fights in this game, the Four Horsemen. The Four Horsemen is a very heavy mechanic fight. Each horseman will put a single dot on you every so many seconds that once it stacks up to about 4, it'll start doing the amount of damage that you can't heal through. 4 is usually the highest you want their stacks to go. So again, each horseman has their own dot. What you have to do is you have to split the raid up into several groups. You're going to take one ranged DPS and one healer, and you're going to send them to fight the back 2 horsemen. The back 2 horsemen, you only use range attacks. So it's very easy for them to stay back, not take that much damage, and the healer can heal the DPS, and the DPS can do a little bit of damage. But the main thing is that the horsemen are focused on them. If they lose focus, then they'll start doing an AoE damage, which will wipe the group almost immediately. So the range and the healer will sit in the back of the room, and they will swap back and forth between those 2 horsemen when they get 4 stacks of the debuff that the horsemen put on them. In the front of the room, your group is split into 2 different groups. You have a single tank taking one of the horsemen, and then you have your other main tank plus the healer that's left over plus all the DPS on one horseman. The goal is to kill the first horseman before you get a stack of 4 on you and you have to leave. You have to have pretty good DPS to do this, but it is doable, especially if you pop hero and just burn all your cooldowns at the very beginning. Once that horseman is dead, you'll probably have about 4 stacks on you. Then the main group will move to the horseman that the single tank had. By that time, he will have 4 stacks on him. What he does is then he moves to the back row and starts tanking one of the ranged horsemen to drop his stacks for that horseman that he was just on, and to also help out with the back group. The main group will then start DPSing down the second horseman that the single tank was on. If they get to 4 stacks, they have to do a swap. So the original tank who was on them and the group will swap, meaning the group will run to the back, and then the tank, the single tank, the off tank, will run up there and grab aggro off of him again. Once they get 4 stacks again, they'll switch. Once you get the first 2 horsemen down and all you're left is with the range horsemen, the fight becomes very, very easy. It becomes your own personal responsibility to watch your stacks. It's technically your responsibility to watch your stacks throughout the entire fight, but some of it you can't control at the very beginning. But especially after the first 2 are dead and you've just got the range horsemen left, it is your own responsibility to watch your own stacks. At that point, you just swap back and forth as needed. And then when you get down to a single horse, it's the same thing. You swap in and out as needed. It's a great fight. It's a great mechanic. It is a lot of fun, and it can cause a lot of chaos if your group is not coordinated. That being said, we do fabulous on this fight, so I'll stop talking and I'll load it up and let you guys see it for yourselves. Enjoy. We somehow make that shit work every fucking time, too. It just amazes me. Ren, you said, Ren, you jumped in as tank there for a second, didn't you?
Yeah, I pulled it off.
Thank you, sir.
Everybody get out of the damn box. There we go. As you can see in Azure Templar style, we took down the boss, no problem whatsoever. It just got a little hairy there for a second, but we took care of it. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. Sorry for it running a little bit longer than normal. I don't like to go over 20 minutes, but yeah, it's kind of hard to chop these things down sometimes. If you could hit that like and subscribe button, it really means a lot to me. It helps my channel grow and become something more, and the more I get back from you guys, the more I give to you guys, because it makes me want to do more. Anyways, next episode we will finish up with Saffron and Kel'Thuzad. Be looking out for those. Those shouldn't take too long to edit because it's only 2 fights, depending on what I do with it editing wise. I may do something different with those two because they're just the 2 fights, but I thought about leaving the audio in for this one for during the fights and stuff, but you know, we really don't talk that much unless it's calling out stuff. And do you really want to hear that, or would you rather hear music? I don't know. You guys tell me. Anyway, let me know what you think, and thank you for watching as always, everyone. We'll see you next time for more World of Warcraft.